Didn't see you there. I know exactly why you're here. What are serial killers? Serial killers are people who murder at least 3 people. Today, we're going to delve deeper into the types and motives of serial killers. Let's focus on the 3 types, starting with organized. Organized serial killers are the most difficult to capture, for they have a very high IQ, making them more intelligent, and they plan everything out meticulously. They take precautions and always hide the body and any evidence, and they have full control over the situation. A notorious organized serial killer is Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was described as being very charming and charismatic on the outside, yet he murdered many women. The second type of serial killer is disorganized. Disorganized killers are the opposite of organized. They rarely plan out the murder, they're more impulsive, they have low to average IQ, they're antisocial, they're more mentally unstable, and wouldn't usually hide the bodies. A notorious example is Jack the Ripper. Now, we don't know much about Jack the Ripper's real identity, but he would always leave the bodies behind where he last killed them, with no intentions of hiding them. Now, the third and last category is mixed. So, mixed serial killers are a combination of both organized and disorganized. They can carry characteristics from both categories. A notorious example is Richard Ramirez. Richard Ramirez killed his victims right in their homes, quite casually, but forgot to cover his face one time, and always murdered them with brutal force. The fact that he would walk into their homes just casually would be a very organized move, but the fact that he didn't cover his face and would murder them with brutal force is more of a disorganized characteristic. Now, I've showed you the 3 main types of serial killers. But now we're going to delve deeper into the 4 main motives of serial killers. The 4 main motives are visionary, mission-oriented, power and control, and hedonistic. Let's start off with visionary. The first main category of motive is visionary. Visionary killers are usually psychopaths. They're delusional, and they believe they're either possessed or that a higher power is driving them to murder. These visionary serial killers are most likely to be mentally unstable. An example is the Son of Sam. David Richard Berkowitz, also known as the Son of Sam, thought a demon had possessed his neighbor's dog, who gave him the order to shoot 8 people. The second motive that serial killers would have is mission-oriented. They want to rid the world of undesirable types of people. They want to change society for the better. And they can do that by murdering those who they think are undesirable, like I just said before. A big example is Joseph Paul Franklin. A white supremacist, Joseph Paul Franklin focused on minorities who were usually Jewish, biracial, and African American. The third main motive of serial killers is power and control. They have the need for power and control. They need to dominate their victims, and they always take pride in their kills. A prideful serial killer is Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy would take pictures of his victims as trophies because he never wanted to forget those prideful occasions. And the last main motive of serial killers is more of a broader topic, hedonistic. They receive pleasure from killing people. And there are 3 subtypes of hedonistic serial killers. These 3 subtypes are lust killers, comfort killers, and thrill killers. First up are lust killers. Lust killers are sexually pleasured by killing, and their stimulation increases by each murder. And the more they murder people, the more that needs to be done to fulfill that increased pleasure. They're driven by fantasies. They enjoy raping, torturing, and mutilating their victims. A big, notorious example is Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer had admitted that lust played a huge role in murdering, and that the killing part was actually the least fun, for all he wanted was to torture his victims for as long as he pleased. The second subtype of hedonistic killers are comfort killers. They murder for materialistic objects and a good life. They most likely have done previous crimes. Hitmen are a good example of comfort killers, for they kill people for money, and so they can afford living a good life. Richard Kuklinski was a hitman. I know English. Richard Kuklinski was a notorious hitman. He made tens of thousands of dollars for each murder and earned enough money to support his family. And lastly, the last subtype of hedonistic killers are thrill killers. They receive an adrenaline rush from inducing fear, pain, and killing, and they want to commit the perfect crime and usually don't cause prolonged deaths. They're very short, and they are able to wait for longer periods of time between each murder so they can plan another and better method. Carl Watts is a notorious example. Carl Watts was described by a surviving victim as being excited and hyper when he was about to torture and murder someone, and he would always act like this was going to be the thrill of his life. Thank you so much for tuning in for the types and motives of serial killers.